Welcome one, welcome all to episode 178 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, May 20th, 2023. I am your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logan. And in this episode, we managed to hit a lighter news week, and it makes way for the upcoming PlayStation Showcase. Mortal Kombat 1 is on the way, awesome, and Overwatch 2 has scrapped its PvE elements. Yikes. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. We had some pretty cool stuff, and then some pretty not cool stuff happened this week. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But overall, pretty good week. It's still 100% steeped in Breath of the Wild, or not Tears of the Kingdom. I'm so used to it. So just like, man, that game's a trip. That game is such a trip. Just I'm at the stage now where I've gotten enough of the story out of the way that I feel like I can kind of just roam for a while. So that's kind of what I've been doing. And I've been sitting because I have the new Switch now. I find myself like hanging out on the couch or hanging out in bed and like going to different places that I normally wouldn't game, just because I have like the portability aspect of it now, which I think I want to talk a little bit about later in the episode with some of the other topics and stuff. But how are you doing? How's your week?
The week was tough. We had our end of year testing for our students. So that made it a tumultuous time. It's just high pressure, unfair pressure on the students, the adults, and it's just not a fun time. But my kids did great. They're my shout out this week for words of kindness. They did fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Could not be more proud of them. Could not be more appreciative of the people I work with, which was really, really cool. And then gaming wise, like we had a bunch of nice wins for XEP. We were able to put up creator talk with Miles Dompierre that went out, and our interview for The Last Case of Benedict Fox. So I feel like this week was just for me. I was going, I was focusing on every other hour, like, right, make it to this time, that kind of thing. And so everything was very fast. And I've calmed down this week by playing some Ravenlok, which I'll tell you about later on in the episode.
Nice.
For sure. So my words of kindness are to the people that helped, my week go, because it was such a intense week, but I'm feeling really good and glad that it's Saturday. So that's nice.
I know how that feels. Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I was thinking about my words of kindness, and I'm gonna do a small shout out to Dead Eye Dre, who tagged me in Twitter this week for because there's been a little controversy going on in the Sea of Thieves community. I don't know if you may have heard this.
I have not. I've had my head down this week. So
the devs made and I'll make this story quick because I actually want to get to who I want to thank, which I won't be able to like talk about in too much because it's still kind of like under wraps. But there was a little bit of controversy because there was a patch that went out that removed the functionality of what was considered not an exploit, but an abuse of mechanics. In Sea of Thieves, there's harpoons at the end of your rowboat or at the end of your ship. And on a ship that is low to the water, like a sloop or the brig, when the water dips, the front end of the ship dips, but you stay at the same level as the water. And it's just at a certain point where you can actually grab onto the harpoon. The harpoon interaction point is big enough that if you're outside the ship, you can grab onto the harpoon. It'll put you on the harpoon, and then you just disengage with the harpoon and you're on the deck. Which, if you're a solo player on a sloop, having to go up against crews that have more than just one person, you have two ladders, but now you have two harpoons you have to guard. And as a solo slooper, that is it's a pretty big deal to have 4 points of entry that you have to be cautious of, 2 that are far away and 2 that are close. So Rare went and made the decision that this is an unintended mechanic and that it was deemed an exploit. So they've patched it out. And the Twitter has just been on fire for the Sea of Thieves community, streamers and gamers alike, constantly sharing their thoughts and opinions about how fair this is, or how unfair it is, or how it removes things from the game that they were using and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of heated debates in the Sea of Thieves circles about this. So the shout out Dead Eye Dre, there was a post that went out about good eggs in the community, and they went and tagged me, and I was like, I love them. They're great. They're fantastic. But the other shout out that I wanted to do real quickly was just George Orton, who's one of the devs over at Sea of Thieves for Rare. I talked about one big game a couple weeks ago. I think it was like a few weeks ago at this point. Time's a flat circle. But I'm looking to get an interview with them about the one big game thing. And if everything goes well, then that will be good. But I just want to shout them out for being open to it, because not all devs have to put themselves out there for like interviews and stuff. And that's it's always great when you get those emails and you see like, oh yeah, they're down to do it. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's cool. Where would players be able to find that interview if it does come to pass?
If everything goes right, that interview is going to be going out on the Keelhauled Sea of Thieves podcast. So just search for Sea of Thieves for the podcasts, either at YouTube or in your podcatcher. If you find Keelhauled, I'm like one of a few active podcasts that are still putting out Sea of Thieves podcasts and stuff. So just go there, and when I do, I'll definitely have the announcement out on Twitter and stuff. But that'll be kind of like in the future when everything's all said and done, if it works out.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah.
Listeners, look for that. Keelhauled, always doing big things. And Keelhauled is one of those shows that like I put on, even if I'm not playing Sea of Thieves actively at the time. It's just nice to. It's just Sea of Thieves is one of those games that you can just hear. You know, you can just listen to, watch. You can be a part of it if you're not a part of it, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So. Well, Logan, one of my favorite parts of the show is our Patreon pitch, but this week it's marred and tainted by a name that I just, oh gosh. Our new Patreon member, Mr. Badbit, he is here. He is now decided to support XEP. I should be thankful. I should be appreciative.
Yeah.
He just sucks. You know, it's this guy. I don't know, man.
It's like when you start to see a company or a country start investing in a company you love, and you're like, don't do that. No, you don't need to. You don't need to taint. No, don't taint this. No.
Yeah, it's crazy, but ugly kid. But I'm appreciative that he has chosen to support XEP. Of course, we support Trophy Room. Mr. Babbitt, the host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. I will give them due credit. He works hard over there. Kyle is amazing at hosting Trophy Room as well. And you and I are going to be working with them. I don't think I told you this.
No, this is
I
news.
did not. This is news for you and news for our listeners. On the day of the Xbox Showcase, we are going to be partnering with the Trophy Room, and over on their channel, we are going to watch and observe and comment on the Xbox Showcase with them.
Oh,
Logan,
fun.
you're welcome to join. No pressure.
Yeah.
Thought I'd do this live on air.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also a patron for the Trophy Room, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So there's two hosts over here that are supporting XEP.
Oh, pressure. I like this.
And I see there's only one of the Trophy Room that is supporting us. So a little interesting there, you know, maybe showing who's more open when it comes to anonymity when it comes to gaming. We don't like to pick sides. We like both sides of the fence. That's
right. But yeah, we're going to be streaming with Trophy Room for the Xbox Showcase. So guys, we'll have you links and all that stuff as that comes closer. But excited for that one just because it's fun to enjoy gaming. What I'm not sure is if we'll watch the Starfield presentation as well. I don't anticipate that. That's a lot of sitting in front of the computer and talking. I'm not an Iron Lord. I don't have that stamina.
I'll do it. I can sit here and stare at them like and have critiques and be like, that's a No Man's Sky thing. That's also a No Man's Sky thing. They took that from Star Infinity. That's awesome though. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's a Sunday, so 10 a.m. Pacific time. What is that? 1 p.m. Eastern, I think.
Yep.
You guys and you're weird. And then it'll be like 6 p.m. British Standard Time, and then sometime in the Australias.
Yep, there you go. It's gonna be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what the showcase brings because questions galore, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm excited in like I can't believe I'm so like. It's more like oh boy, what do we got? What are you gonna do? You know, like I
I'm
don't know. I'm not even
even-tempered.
cautiously, very even tempered, not cautiously optimistic, not downtrodden, very even, just like, all right, let's see.
Yeah,
Um,
because we get a
because
lot of stuff that's coming out right before it, and because of that, it's hard to
That's true.
know. Like, okay, well, everything's being released right before the showcase. So, what is actually going to be in the showcase?
Yeah,
We have a lot of projects, but we
let's
got.
hold
I
that.
want
Let's
to.
read our patrons first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So, my week this week.
it is your week this
My week
week.
this
Yes.
week. So, folks, if you guys don't know, head over to patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass if you too want to help support Luke in getting that second monitor. Think about that. He runs a computer with one monitor.
Single monitor.
Like it's 1996 and he's got his Pac Bell on there and he's ready to sit down and play some StarCraft Brood War or some Diablo. So help him. Help him get the second monitor. You can do that by going over to patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. Just like these tier 2 and tier 3 shoutouts for Robbie Bobby Miller, Silent Cypher, Xbox Skittle, African, aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Zach LeCouture, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, Matt Without Fear, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you all so much for joining up and for being in the Patreon exclusive Discord for there's tier 3 and tier 2 subs. The tier 3 also gets the Xbox wrap up, which is a special episode that we put out at the end of each month where we just sit down and chill and chat. I think we talked about the our favorite Star Wars games that last month. We haven't really thought of any ideas. So if you guys have ideas, you're tier 3, you want to hear some opinions or some thoughts on stuff that's outside the Xbox ecosystem or even within the Xbox ecosystem, feel free to let us know there.
It's very much a behind the scenes show as well. Like people ask us or we talk about stuff, how we're working on an XEP, what we're looking forward to, that kind of thing. So it's a fun one for tier 3s and tier 2s. It seems like Creator Talk's going very well. Put out Randall Thor's episode public last week, and then this week Miles Dompierre went for patrons. Pretty darn cool. I lost an episode with Wilmy. I need to reschedule that one, but yeah, it definitely a fun one. We're appreciative, and if you can't support on Patreon, like, share, subscribe, rate. Any of those things are always appreciated, guys. We just we enjoy having conversations with you.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Logan, we put a pin in. Let's unpin this showcase idea. I said that I was even tempered, not overly excited for anything. One element of it. I feel like Xbox has a lot to answer, but I also don't know that they could. We have the PlayStation Showcase coming up this week. All signs for that point to having a great showcase.
Yeah.
I anticipate PlayStation doing very well in this showcase. Not just leaks and rumors, but in general, it's time for their next big thing to be shown. We had kind of a calm period post Ragnarok. They had Horizon and VR2 came out. And now it's time for the next thing, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, I mean, I think everyone kind of led up to God of War Ragnarok. That hit really, really well. It's a fantastic game. And then everything since it's just been kind of like, oh, that's cool. That's all right. I think Sony fans are really waiting for Final Fantasy 16 at the end of June. I think that's going to be like their next major hit. But I always love when Sony does their showcases because I think that they've taken that Nintendo formula and refined it. And we saw that a little bit with the Xbox developer showcase that they had in the beginning of January for when I think that was like the last major one that we got. And I'm just looking forward to it. I definitely hope to see more on Spider-Man 2. I kind of want to see like a few things for Sony PSVR 2, like Astrobot, Half-Life Alyx. Those are the things I've been talking about the most about wanting. But I also want to know about Wolverine 2 because I think
I don't think you'll see Wolverine.
Oh, really?
I don't think you'll see Wolverine. Not really. Like maybe you get like a shink and like a little here and there, unless he's in Spider-Man 2.
Another teaser?
If he's in Spider-Man 2, that'd be
interesting.
I don't know that he would be. But my point is, I feel like that's too far out.
Mm.
I would think, but um,
Is
Sony
the
has. Go ahead.
do you know if the or the Ratchet and Clank team is the one that's working on?
Unsure. I couldn't tell you.
I wonder who's doing that.
But I will say that I got just too many shout outs in one show. But Trophy Room is of course streaming that one. And if you're a
Yeah,
Final Fantasy fan, you should keep your eye on their channel. That's what I will say for them. For
definitely.
sure. But yeah, I anticipate this being a good showcase for Sony. I really think it's like this feels like a good vibe for them. A lot of things
Yeah.
are going Sony's way, despite PSVR kind of being a middling
Well,
landing. Uh,
can
Go ahead.
I don't know, man. Like that's the thing. Like PSVR 2's only been available through the Sony PlayStation Store, and that's not how a lot of gamers buy their stuff. That's how enthusiasts in the market buy their stuff. And now we're just seeing that stuff like hit GameStop. We're just seeing the PSVR 2 be available on Amazon as well as Best Buy. So I'm willing to bet that now that they've got a gauge on how many people bought directly from them, that we'll start to see like different things happen with PSVR 2 now that it's available in more places. Because a lot of people have like, loyalty points or subscriptions, things like that they go through with like those other retailers that they would
Mhm.
hold out on for, plus they're waiting for like any kind of deals and stuff like that. So I think it's still too early to tell.
I don't think it's too early to tell. I think they cut their own projections, but I'm not rooting against it. Like to me,
Mm,
healthy VR is only good for the industry. And I think that's true of a lot of things. Like healthy game companies
yeah.
make for a better game industry, um, which is kind of obnoxiously having to bring up the ABK stuff. It's very frustrating to see the CMA hold out on not doing it while the EU is clearing it. China's cleared it this past week. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of that's like 30 plus countries are clearing the ABK merger. Only the
This,
UK and US are standing in the way for reasons that don't feel clear. Um,
yeah.
and and it bothers me because healthy competition in the game industry, in what is clearly not a monopolization of something, that
Mm,
only makes for better things. Like Tears of the Kingdom is good for the game industry. It was Breath of the Wild that set a lot of standards for what we've come to expect, and it
yeah.
led to Immortals Phoenix Rising, which copied the formula but did it very well.
And
Dialogue,
turned around
song.
fast too.
Yeah,
Like
and
surprisingly fast.
who knows what lessons Tears of the Kingdom will teach, but I good games and good things teach our industry in a positive way. And so like I'm hopeful that PSVR 2 lands well. And I'm curious if this showcase does anything for it, but I anticipate a lot of really good news for Sony players,
Yeah.
and some disappointed sighs from Xbox players during this showcase, and we'll see what happens with the other. So
Well, we know that the Sony showcases do tend to have a few things that they'll present. Kind of like it's like it's theirs, but there's third party content that will make its way over to Xbox as well. Typically with those shows, and vice versa too. Xbox always does like promotions and stuff where it looks like it's going to be an Xbox exclusive. They just happen to have the marketing rights for it and stuff. So
sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing what third party content gets announced that I'll be able to use on my asymmetrical stick controller because that's the proper way.
I Do you think it is? Because I agree. I think
I do.
I appreciate the dual sense, but I'm not impressed by it, and I very
I
much
do.
think offset sticks are the way to do it.
Yeah, I think having the higher left move stick is more natural for constant use, whereas having it lower to the left or to lower on for the left stick is just it's I don't know. It works, but it's not where I feel natural. It feels like it's I don't know, something about having the D-pad below the control stick is it makes more sense like mentally where
Mhm.
I should be going for like secondary item stuff. Like I don't know why. It's just and I think it's because both Nintendo and Microsoft have like kind of sat in the same seating as far as like there's a section over here where there's asymmetrical controllers and there's
Sure.
the other section over there where it's just the symmetrical controllers, but
Right.
I think asymmetrical is just it's more natural to me.
We are playing a game for review right now, and I will say that for the first time in a long time, I noted how appreciative I was of offset sticks because of this game,
Yes.
which was interesting. I was like, huh, this really matters to me right now. And
It really does. Yeah.
it's like, all right. So that was a funny
I know
kind
what you're
of
talking about.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
So,
have to talk offline about a couple of things about that because I definitely want to get your thoughts on that. But yeah,
yeah.
we'll
I've
be
got a
able to
lot more
talk about
time
it.
to put in. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when it's time for sure.
Yeah, but a fun one for sure. Let's talk about some of this Mortal Kombat stuff because this was really cool. The trailer from Mortal Kombat 1 launched. I don't know if they had planned to launch it when they did, but there
Yeah.
were so many leaks of Mortal Kombat 1 kind of kicking out there.
Well, those were all from Ed Boon. That was the cool thing.
I
Like
thought Windows Central and a few others had kind of spit out that it was called Mortal Kombat 1 and a few other things.
They were kind of, I mean, they probably had heard about that, but I mean, they're those kind of things like it was pretty assumed, like and there's a couple good videos out there about this, but it was like everyone knew that there was going to be a time element, like they might be rebooting the series, but no one that I can point to knew for certain that it was going to be called Mortal Kombat 1 until the second teaser that Ed Boon had put out came out. And then everyone, like when you saw the clock go from like 9,
12.
10, 11 and then skip past 12 and go right to 1, that's when everyone's like, oh, it's a reboot, it's going to be 1.
Yeah.
That's my, but I don't know. People have their sources. They won't name them. And because of that, it's all kind of like hearsay.
Right. Well, I was really impressed by the trailer. You had me rewatch it just before the show because I'd watched it on my phone and you were like, no, you need to rewatch. And so I did. And man, it is good. I'm really excited for Mortal Kombat 1 in a way I didn't expect to be. I am not a Mortal Kombat fan per se. I tend to skew towards Street Fighter, of course, with Street Fighter taking off the Xbox One generation with Street Fighter 5 that was PlayStation only, which I still think was a disappointment regardless of sales. Like, don't cut a fighting game community. But I've always lended towards the Street Fighter side of fighting games, which has me so excited for the next Street Fighter. But also Injustice came in, and as a diehard DC fan, I can see that. It's such a good fighting game, such a good story. The comics for both 1 and 2 were amazing as well. So I loved Injustice 1 and 2, minus the gear system in 2. It was just really, really fun. So I have mixed feelings because I know I love the mechanics of Mortal Kombat. I'm good at it. I once won a year of Game Pass for beating some like pro gamer in Xbox Canada. Like, I just jumped in and fought in Injustice 2. And so I was like, oh, cool.
Look, the Canadians up there, I'm going to throw a little shade. Y'all, like, there's gaming, there's like good gaming, there's like good gamers out there, there's they got good, they did the thing, they got the good. And then there's like like the Canadian gamers, and we love them. They get a lot of bones thrown to them from the PR companies because they know they're like they're rooting for them. That's.
I love that we preach like no console bias, friendship in gaming, and you just attack the whole country. All right.
I don't care what they play. They can play whatever they want. I love that they're playing multiple consoles and stuff, but I will attack them. I'll attack them. Yeah, they took the good donuts. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'll give them that. What is that? Tim Hortons, they have that too. That's like their only thing they claim.
Yeah. Tim Hortons, they got some meese or mooses, whatever you want to call them. I guess that's cool.
Moose, just moose.
Just moose. Yeah. You have you got your moose. We see you. Look, we got a bald eagle. Okay. I don't know who I'm even attacking.
I don't know who you are either, but I'm like, man, we're really going in on these Canadians. All right. So many of our friends are Canadian podcasters, but all right.
I see you all with your beavers. What do you got? Gosh. I don't know.
Dying a little inside, and we're back. Okay.
So you got your 1 year Game Pass from beating a Canadian in a game for sure, not in person, but in a game.
Yeah, and I like the Mortal Kombat Injustice formula. I am excited because Ed Boon's excited, and I really love what he does. He is one of those dream interviews. He's one of those. There are a few people that I'll do what I consider to be unprofessional if you're a real journalist, but in the enthusiast press, there's a muddied line of like asking for an interview on Twitter, right? Because
Yeah.
like on the one hand, you might get lucky, and it's happened before. On the other
Yeah.
hand, I don't like being that guy. But except with Cliffy B, I will keep asking Cliffy. But I would love to interview Ed Boon. Like that's a really big one just to talk to him because this man has seen everything in this industry and been with Mortal Kombat since the first Mortal Kombat. Been through reboots, been through how many game generations, how many control schemes. Mortal Kombat Armageddon on the Wii was really good. Like, I want to pick this man's brain, and he's a diehard DC fan, which is for me would be a joy. It's really cool to see the love that he has for fighting games, for the industry, for DC, etc. So for Mortal Kombat 1 to be coming out this year, in the same year as Street Fighter 6, in the same year as presumed the new Tekken.
Yeah.
It's just like, goodness, what's on your mind, Ed Boon? I want to hear it. I want to talk to him. It's crazy.
Yeah. We've also got because Guilty Gear just came out recently. We just got a new Guilty Gear.
And there are 6 or 7 people that are really good at that game, you know?
Dude, that game, like Faust and Soul. Oh man, that game is so good. I got introduced
like Guilty Gear.
I got into Guilty Gear in the PS2 era and
Nice.
XX, and man, that game. Oh, I just love those characters and the May and stuff. There's just some really good characters in that one. I still lament the days of when I was good at fighters and stuff and the Soul Calibers. Like, where's the Soul Calibers, Capcom? What's going on with that? Like, why can't we get any more Soul Calibers?
I'm going to tell you right now, if there is ever, this is true. Something I really want is XEP to earn like the, hey, get a fight stick. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you know how you landed a Switch and it was like this moment, a fight stick kind of thing. Like I'm going to get a fight stick this year. I know it. Right. Like
there's enough to play with it. Yeah.
Let's say Street Fighter. I'm so excited for Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat. Yes. Would I go back to Injustice and fight with Elu from SG? Yeah. Like I see myself getting back in. I'm thinking about getting a fight stick, but I don't know which one. But here's the thing. Like, I don't know what. So what I was getting at was like, does anybody in the XCP community that listens or what know of a good fight stick for someone who's, I'm not a professional, but I don't want to be disappointed. I had the Street Fighter 4 fight stick and loved it. I want one that looks cool, is fun to play with, but won't like kill me. Is that out there? So if anyone in XCP's community knows of that, let me know because I'm leaning towards that. That might be like what our Patreon. No, it's gonna go toward monitor. Whatever.
You need a second monitor for sure, but I wouldn't blame you for wanting to get a fight stick for that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's on my mind is, you know, when I saw this Mortal Kombat trailer, it's like I'm not a Mortal Kombat diehard, but I Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. It's like
Mortal Kombat 1, like, and this is for those of you that like, we should probably dive into a little bit of the actual news about it as opposed to gushing about. I gotta say, like, if you ever get the Ed Boon okay for an interview, I want to be there just so I can talk about my love for Sub-Zero mythologies, because that was a series that died. And you know, people probably point to that and be like, yeah, there's a reason why that died, but I don't know. There's something about it that I was just like, this would have been cool if they had like and it was a time of spinoffs when no one was asking for spinoffs.
Something that I think would also be interesting is the storytelling they've managed to accomplish with fighting games, right? Like it's for a long time. Yeah, for a long time it wasn't there, but they've really done a good job in multiple genres, like multiple franchises, Mortal Kombat, Injustice. They've really done a good bit for storytelling. Which is crazy. But Mortal Kombat 1 specifically, it's slated to launch September 19th, which I think is a nice distance from the June 2nd release of Street Fighter, which will really be cool to watch how the fighting game community reacts. Because fighting game community is kind of like wrestling for me. I don't follow it, but I check the highlights for fun. I enjoy the entertainment value that it brings. And with some of the stuff that Street Fighter is doing as far as like commentators, and esports elements and Sony kind of owning Evo, a portion of Evo.
I know,
see how Mortal Kombat manages to kind of like compete with a K in this kind of category. Like, good. I think that's the cool one. Thank you. But September 19th for Mortal Kombat 1, looks like Peacemaker and Homelander are going to be in the game, which is cool.
Jean-Claude Van Damme also
confirmed. Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme is going to be in the game. Like, what?
All
It's
right.
nuts. So
That's cool. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, and you can if you pre-order, you also get access to Shang Tsung and
Which I
a
didn't like.
week's. Really?
Character locks with pre-orders kind of bother me. Kind of bother
Oh,
me. Dark Side, I think, was
that's
a
fair.
pre-order lock for Injustice 2, which come
Yeah.
on. I don't like that aspect.
Mm,
Cosmetics, yes, I'm cool with that.
okay,
But characters kind of do bother me a little bit. So
that's
curious
fair.
how
I
everybody else
can.
feels.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, that's. I mean, if you like Mortal Kombat, there's a good chance you're gonna like this one because it's like they've completely wiped the slate. Like they've
Mhm,
completely said like this is Mortal Kombat, but it is like a fresh story start for Mortal Kombat. So
mhm,
there's no expectations on history. Like it's almost as if like um everyone used the whole Men in Black little blinky thing
mhm.
and just completely wiped everyone's memory. So there's no clue like how people are going to react. Like we saw the sisters in the character. I'm blanking on their names. It's like Melina
Katana,
and
Melina.
yeah, sitting in the van or in a van down by the river. uh we saw them in a carriage like together, and it
Mhm,
was like okay. And same thing with Scorpion and Sub Zero. Like it looked
mhm.
like they were going to fight, and then they just weren't, and it was
Right.
just hmm.
So
So
expectations are very much on hold, and they've got several characters confirmed, kind of like your mainstays: Johnny
yeah,
Cage, Shang Tsung, Molina Katana, Kung Lao, Raiden, Sub Zero, Scorpion, Liu Kang. Kind of all your mainstays,
yeah.
with the absence of a couple, which would make sense if it's a reboot timeline wise. Like you don't see Kate. Who's the blonde girl? Sonya Blade. Goodness gracious, we had the voice actor for the daughter of Sonya Blade on the last
Yeah.
episode. A couple weeks ago, and
Last interview, yeah.
yeah. So, bottom line, I'm excited. I'm curious to know how many fighters are available at launch because of the way Street Fighter is releasing characters, and how many will be available, not available, and how they're
Yep.
the fighting game, big pillar fighting games are now doing like character releases as reasons to get the character pass, get the season pass, stay engaged. Shoot, even my one of I love Power Rangers for some reason. The Power Ranger fighting game Battle for the Grid did that same thing as well. So I'm just curious to watch this go. I think fighting game communities are just really exciting to follow, and I'm really glad Xbox is getting the full breadth with Street Fighter back in. So,
Yeah. You mean, yeah, I know what you mean.
well,
um
the absence of Street Fighter really, I thought,
Killed.
killed excitement because it's like,
Yeah.
why own an Xbox if you're a fighting game enthusiast? If that
Okay.
was your thing, right?
Yep, for sure.
Because Killer Instinct didn't do what people wanted it to in the
Which is
Xbox One, despite being a good game. It was a
which
good
is
game.
crazy too. Yeah, because it was a free game, and you just it was a really good fighter. Kind of
I
surprised.
I think with Killer Instinct, and this is a relevant topic given that we have a showcase coming up. Is Killer Instinct involved? I doubt it. But like, is that a possibility to see that franchise come back? I think the answer is
Yeah.
yes. But I think that the way that Killer Instinct was handled on Xbox One, it didn't sit in your game library the same way. It was an app
Mhm.
at one point, and things were slow to load, and it was a confusing method of distribution because the way they locked characters and
Yeah.
didn't lock characters. I don't think the community or the technology was quite ready for what they were trying to accomplish
Yeah.
with delivery, and so only the most enthusiastic and interested parties would check it out. And that's a shame because I missed out on some great times, I'm sure, playing as Rom from Gears, the Arbiter. Like, they had some cool crossover characters, but it was a pain. It seems so silly, but it was a pain to play that game
Yeah.
outside of the actual, fighting portion. So I'm hopeful that
What if
we
what
see
if
Killer
they
Instinct come back.
What if they did like a Killer Instinct Gold version where they just sold like everything as a small bundle as like an anniversary edition or something? Like I haven't checked the dates and stuff, but it'd be
I'd play it.
interesting in the year of fighters to get like a just a normal regular release of Killer Instinct like thrown onto Game Pass with like everything already
It
taken
might
care of and
already
stuff
be,
for you.
though.
It's like You don't have to think about everything. You just go in and be able to play.
It's all
Kind
there.
of thing.
Maybe. Yeah. Yes. I want Killer Instinct to come back because, like we talked about a couple, 30 minutes ago or so, it's like healthy community builds better games. Like having a healthy Killer Instinct would be great for the fighting game community. But it needs to be done right and well. And maybe the words risk averse aren't appreciated enough because we want companies to take risks. But with Killer Instinct, you need a hit. So like, don't go too crazy. Get
Yeah.
a good game out there. And is it going to be Killer Instinct or is it going to be Microsoft Crossover Fighter? Because I'll buy either one, but I don't want an in between, right?
Yeah.
That is kind of one kind of small thing I get annoyed with is when a non DC character is in Injustice, right? I think Scorpion was over there, or Joker's. Maybe that's like a dumb thing. Maybe that's boosts engagement. But when your foot is half in versus like Fortnite, where it's like, yo, anybody you want, go. That's kind of how I think of it. But maybe I'm just talking to my butt here because I'm such a casual Mortal Kombat fan, but really excited to get back in,
Yeah.
So.
No,
But yeah, if you guys want Killer Instinct back, comment. I'm curious. I would love to read the comments on that one because I'm very curious about Killer Instinct. I saw some outlets were like pushing the idea. I don't know. Like, is there really demand or is that just because it's an Xbox exclusive?
Yeah. Interesting little note. I was looking up what Iron Galaxy was on. You know what Iron Galaxy's been helping out with?
What's that?
Overwatch.
Oh, what a transition. Overwatch 2 had some rough news for its fans this week, and I would imagine Iron Galaxy maybe wants out of that one because Overwatch 2 has scrapped PvE plans. This is a big deal. Director Aaron Keller came out in a blog post and pretty much said that Blizzard has decided to forego any more development on the PvE co-op hero mode. Story missions are still coming for season 6, but it's essentially going to be part of the multiplayer element, talent trees, long-term progression, all canceled. Gotta tell you, man, it really feels like Overwatch has been the most mismanaged big IP in gaming. And I realize I'm saying that on an Xbox show where Halo Infinite had a troubled launch, a troubled legacy.
Post-launch.
But post-launch, yes. The launch for Halo Infinite was great. Still a great game to go back to. And season 4 is coming. There's some stuff in our smaller news.
We'll get into that. Hold off.
Okay. All right. Well, it's just that I was never an Overwatch guy, and it's just like everything for Overwatch 2 just seems disappointing. It spikes. People were into it, and then I just feel like it's gone.
Here's the troubled legacy of Overwatch 2. Folks don't know. Let me take you on a little voyage here.
Take me on a journey.
Logan was on an Odyssey, and back in 2019, I think is when it happened. I could be a little off on my years there, but I went to a few BlizzCons in my day, and 2019 was a very interesting one because that was the year that I'm pretty sure that's the year that we got the well, don't you all have phones? Yeah. And which is a reference to Diablo Immortal, if you're not familiar, which is making them a buttload of money because people cannot restrain themselves on phones. So we also got the announcement of Overwatch 2, and we also got the announcement of Diablo 4. So Diablo 4 and Diablo Immortal were being worked on in tandem. One was originally outsourced to a different company who had been building a mobile game that was skinned as Diablo, and then it went in-house and they started to refine it over the couple of years and then eventually came out. And then Diablo 4 has always been the mainstay for the Diablo team. And Overwatch 2 was a game that had a lot of promise. They wanted to build something beyond what the ashes of the scrapped MMO project Titan was. And out of the ashes of Titan came Overwatch, and it was a huge success because it introduced hero shooters in a way that we hadn't seen, with a lovable cast that was very Pixar-like and great storytelling through the cinematics.
There was a hamster and a gorilla.
There was a hamster, a gorilla, a sexy lady, another sexy lady, and then another lady who is also sexy, but in a kind of death by snoozu way. And we got plenty of other characters like robots and cowboys and ninjas and stuff. And it was great. Everyone had their own thing. And with Overwatch 2, they had promised kind of the story aspect. Like we had PvE missions and events and stuff like that in Overwatch 1. And there's a community out here that loves the PvE aspect of that game for those events. So when Overwatch 2 came out, everyone's like, oh, well, this looks like DLC. And the idea was, it's like, okay, well, it's the same engine. They're going to take everything. They're going to tune it up so they can do some more live service stuff with it, but also bring in all the PvE hero stuff. And the trouble with this was, I got to play builds of the game that had the PvE hero stuff in it. Mm-hmm. It was really fun. It was really, really fun. It's kind of like Left 4 Dead, but in Overwatch. Mm-hmm. And you got talent trees, you got abilities, and those abilities got augmented. So if you're familiar with StarCraft 2, where you had like kind of the co-op campaign missions and stuff, and you had like the different trees that you could kind of build out with the different skill abilities, it was very similar to that. You could see a lot of the DNA crossing over between the teams. And it was going to be a lot of fun. The mission was interesting. It was great to play as different heroes. You know, it was a little team-based thing, but, you know, just like its own story mode, and you were going to traverse around the world, kind of like the old Street Fighter 2 screen, when you went to different fighters and stuff in their own lands. And it looked like it was going to be a promising answer to the folks that enjoyed the full PvE aspect of the events from Overwatch 1. And we were told everything from our purchases to our skins to our heroes, everything from Overwatch 1 was going to be made available in Overwatch 2. So we didn't lose out on anything by moving over to Overwatch 2. And all of the maps that were going to be available for Overwatch 2 that were new were going to be brought back to Overwatch 1, so that those that didn't want to buy into Overwatch 2 yet wouldn't feel like they were cut out of a gaming pool of maps. So there was going to be a lot of crossover.
I'm still struggling to follow you on this journey. This is a complex journey. I don't know if any list. That's a lot. Yeah. Already. That's a lot.
The promise was going to be there. So then COVID hit. 2020 was a wash. We lost out on BlizzCon. The controversy with Activision and the sexual harassment to the allegations of many different people, heads of Blizzard were removed. Influence from Bobby Kotick had started to come out with the Overwatch team as WoW was floundering. Heroes was on its way to becoming a legacy title. StarCraft 2 esports had died. Heroes had died. Like Overwatch was the only esport that was really pushing anything. Diablo 4 was still in early stages, and Blizzard needed money. They needed to be making money, and then you could see that influence start to come in from Kotick, which is why I want that dude out for this deal. And you could start to see like some of the passion for Overwatch started to erode. You know, things were taking too long. They had to pause development on Overwatch 1 to be able to continue to focus on Overwatch 2. Then they decided to scrap the idea of 2 being a standalone product and just make it Overwatch. And now we're at this stage where Overwatch 2 looks great. It plays just like Overwatch 1. And they can do a lot more with like the systems that are involved with it. But to hear that Aaron had to come out and announce, which shout out to Aaron Keller, because he's a family member of mine somewhere in a distant relation, because both of us are Kellers. But to hear that they're having to scrap this co-op hero mode, it must have been such a bummer to have to hear that, because there were teams that had been literally working on this since before 2019 to try and get this mode out. And so many different things happened over the course of the last 4 years that have just really just destroyed the drive of that team. And I have some friends that are over on that team now, and they're doing the work that they're doing, but it's completely unrelated to this. And they're loving it. But I feel so bad, because this was something that so many of us were looking, and it's easy to be a cynical outsider and look at this and be like, man, Overwatch is really just kind of floundered, and why did they even bother doing it? You can clear they just let it die on the vine. And it's like, there was a lot of passion on that team, and there was a lot of hiccups, that a lot of bumps in the road that they tripped on. And it's just it's one of those things that it's such a bummer to see all of that gets scrapped, because I think if they had better conditions, if they didn't have to deal with so much stress at work, and they could just work on the game, this really would have been a huge monumental Overwatch 2 game. And it's kind of like the same thing that we're seeing with Halo Infinite.
Yep.
And it's such a bummer, because they're capable of great, and they're not getting to do great because of outside forces.
Right. That's true of a lot of Halo and Overwatch are comfortable compliments in this conversation, but I think it's true of a lot of games, right? Think about all the Call of Duties where you kind of hear that mid-July article, it hits such and such team is getting help on, God, for the life of me, I can't remember the in the moment. Infinity Ward and
Raven,
not Raven,
Rocks. No. Not Rocksteady.
Not Rocksteady, but it's like an R one. I can't remember. They make
there is a Raven one, because I know Ted Timmons from previously of Rare is working over at Raven Studios.
Yeah, they're a support studio now, but they used to be like a prime time.
One of the main ones, and they got that project kind of. They do more of the
Sledgehammer.
Oh, Sledgehammer. Oh yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I blanked on them. I'm sorry. But my point is, big studios, pressures from the outside, interference. They have these great things on paper and maybe even working, and then somebody comes in and says, "No, we need this mechanic. No, we need this timeline." And it's like, we wasn't built for that. That's not what this was for, and yet it takes away the dream of the team that was working, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, it's a shame. So to kind of summarize everything, it's they're still planning on doing some stuff with the PvE content, but the whole like mode that they had planned out for the hero mode, that's because that was originally announced to be coming out later or at the beginning of this year, when it launched last year in, what was it, September or early October, I can't remember which, but yeah, they said it was going to come out later in the first year of 2023. It's now like close to the end of the first half, and they announced that got scrapped, and I don't know what they're going to be doing. I really don't, because it definitely feels like a lot of the drive that was keeping Overwatch afloat has just been sucked out of the room. So I don't know what they're doing.
I don't either. And like, that wasn't the only bit of kind of bad news for hardcore fans of certain titles. I'm thinking about Silksong. If that whole like it'll be out in the next 12 months thing had stuck strong from last year, Silksong would have been out, and they announced that the game was intended for Q1, didn't make it, it's delayed now. Which I loved Hollow Knight, and I'm curious why so many people are diehard for Hollow Knight 2. But despite me loving it, I'm like, this doesn't feel like a game that people would get hyped for. It feels like a great game that when it gets here, we're all going to play, but not one that people would be like marking their calendars on. But maybe I'm just out of it, right? Like, I preferred Ori, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought Ori kind of hit different. I was excited for Ori, but I'm not excited for Hollow Knight. Maybe it's a difficulty thing. I'm not sure, but I did beat Hollow Knight.
Yeah, it's interesting to see kind of the fandom so
fervently ravenous. They
Ravenous.
are excited for Hollow Knight.
Yeah, ravenous. I'll go with ravenous. It's interesting to see them just like, it's kind of like Ains and Banjo-Kazooie. It's like, it'll come out when it comes out, but man, I know why folks are excited for it. It's a nostalgia thing. It's a desire to live in that world kind of thing. But I'm very surprised at the just how often people are like, oh, it's going to be amazing when it comes out. It's like, okay.
Yeah, same. But I'm sorry that it's delayed, because I know people were stoked for it.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, I really do not mind the whole within the intention of releasing in the next 12 months. That doesn't bother me. But I doubt they do it again. And I still like the idea of like, hey, why do you need it right now? I think we talked about that last week. But I doubt they'll say that again for this year. So
well.
I want to talk about the ROG Ally, but because we brought up Halo Infinite, let's kick that one real quick. Season 4 set to launch in June. That's good timing for the showcase. I bet you we see a nice sizzle reel of, hey, why you should go back to Infinite. I doubt it'll kick anybody to go back to Infinite, but I'm excited for Halo fans. I'm a Halo fan. I know I will go back because
Yeah.
there's a new progression system that's going to be launching with it. They have infection mode coming. I guess we're not seeing Project Tatanka. I feel like we'd already kind of know if it was coming, but who knows? That's the Battle Royale. But I
Yeah.
don't think a sizzle reel of Halo Infinite is going to bring anybody back. But I know I'm going back because I never really left. Like
They're
it. Does that make sense?
yeah, they're in the stage where they're comfortable with the community they have.
Yeah.
I don't think that they can make an announcement outside of like a story expansion that's going to pull anyone outside of Halo's circles back into the Halo circle at this point, because
Right.
there was a lot of buzz around like the last season that got launched and how everyone was enjoying the new map. We talked about it, we played it.
Really
We
good season.
we love the new maps, we love the new weapons and stuff. Halo's just kind of moving forward with their kind of seasons at this point. It's kind of like Sea of Thieves, unless some big news thing pops up with some big key feature that gets pulled in, like Project Tatanka or like a new story expansion. I imagine just like with Destiny, it'll just kind of be living and breathing with that community and the seasons that they get announced. I'm glad that they've got the cycle down. It feels like they finally have a bead on the content release.
Yep.
Few things had to die for that, but we got there.
Definitely missed the mark on becoming the next thing,
Yeah.
Like it didn't return Halo to the glory that it could have. It really could have. It was so close. But I'm glad the
Is that
community
possible
stands
though?
strong. Yeah, I think it's
I think it's
possible.
possible.
I don't think I don't think when Halo was big, it was big in a space that had no competitor, right?
Yeah.
It was the first person shooter on console that nothing could rival because there was nothing else. And when Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare arrived, that entered in the juggernaut stage of and it was multi-platform. So I don't think it could ever dominate solely the industry the way Halo once did because the industry is so fundamentally different.
Yeah.
But Infinite did have a chance to hit big. It was going to be free to play multiplayer. Cloud was there. Xbox was new. They had a chance to do something special, and they whiffed the chance to take it to the next level. But Halo Infinite in its own right is a good game. I think that the two messages get muddled by accident. It is a good game. It did launch well. You should play it. That is a fun story. That is great multiplayer, but it didn't have the legacy, the 10-year plan, the Slipspace engine, the expansions to make Halo the mainstay again. And so there are two things happening there that they often get crossed when people discuss them and on these spaces. And I think that's kind of what's going on. But really excited for Infinite Season 4. Gonna play it. Doubt it's gonna bring it back to mainstay. Tatanka is the only chance of that happening, and that's who knows, man. How do you beat Warzone and Fortnite? They're too good.
Yeah, that's the thing is like they've got years and years of development in those worlds. There is a universe where Xbox Series X and S launched with Halo Infinite, and they had the content down, they had the monetization more streamlined, and it was like it and it was they'd like packed in Halo Infinite with the purchase for the first, like there's a world where if they had packed in the Halo Infinite as a game that came with like 3 months of Game Pass for multiplayer, but the full game for the first year with the console launch, like it would, because remember they had a special edition Xbox Series X for Halo that came out with no Halo. And it's just like it's crazy to think that that's a world where had everything lined up perfectly, you would have been able to buy an Xbox Halo Infinite Special Edition with the game on day one, like on launch. And it's just like the plans are there. They got to work out the execution. And I think there's a world where that execution happened, and Xbox is like an amazing story of coming out of the Xbox One era and stuff. But still, yeah, gotta echo it. Halo Infinite is a fantastic game. I would love that story. I want more of that story.
Yep.
I don't know when I'll get it.
Yeah, agree. Logan, last week we skipped over this topic because we just didn't have time. But I want to give you a chance to talk about the ROG Ally. This is your bread and butter.
I think it's cool.
It is cool, and it's a roadway for Microsoft to reach more gamers if they play their cards right, and it feels like they are. But I want to open the floor for you to talk about the ROG Ally and what that could mean to Xbox gamers.
So I don't remember. Maybe this is just me. Ever since I got the what's in my bedroom, that's how crazy playing Tears of the Kingdom is right now, because I have the new Switch. And I just looked over at the dock, and it's not in the dock. So I was like, where the heck did I leave it?
Zelda the Aphrodisiac.
It's the I'm not gonna take that bait. There is a world right now where handheld gaming is starting to really take off. Steam really helped push the needle forward with the Steam Deck. And now the Asus is getting into the market. This was something that they talked about a long time ago, but they've come out with the Republic of Gaming, or the ROG Ally. We saw it on Phil's shelf. He's been using it. So we know that he's like intimately working with Asus as far as like what the experience is going to be like. And this is the device that is going to be fantastic if you are a fan of handheld gaming. It's like $600 for the base model, but it's $700 for the main one, which is probably a little high in my opinion, considering like you can get an Xbox Series X for $500. But Steam Decks can run pretty high as well. So this is definitely going to be a high tier enthusiast product.
It's more expensive than an Xbox.
Yeah, it's a couple hundred more than an Xbox. You could buy an Xbox Series S and X for the cost of this. But the one thing you can't do is you can't take them outside. So this being portable is a full PC system. You're getting 512 gigabytes of storage, which is I just had to buy a 512 micro SD for my OLED Switch, and so that was a thing. It has a custom AMD Zen 4 APU, and it's going to be a pretty beefy system, honestly. Like looking at it, they've got a 1080 screen that's going to be 120 hertz. It's an LCD, not an OLED, which I don't blame them for, because the LCDs are just a lot cheaper. But it's going to be a 7-inch. It's going to have a one USB C port, a PCIe port, which is kind of interesting, and then a headphone jack. Obviously, this thing only comes in at 1.3 pounds, which I think is fantastic. And they're saying that the battery life is going to be about 8 hours, which is nuts. Like that's a heavy amount of time for a handheld.
Way better than a Steam Deck too.
Yeah. So
and a PlayStation 4 controller or 5 controller. Haha, take that, console war.
Take that, you symmetrical control stick bastards. I love this. I can't afford it because of just like how much it is right now. But this is one of those things that I'm so excited to see. And I'm even more excited to see that there's a partnership with Microsoft on this, because we talked a while back about whether we think like Xbox will be moving into a handheld territory. I agree.
Sam wrote in that question last week.
Yeah. So and this is something that I'm falling more in line with your mentality of it. And I know that you had a great interview with Lord Cognito from the Iron Lords podcast about this as well too. And, the general consensus is no, Xbox is probably not going to get into the handheld market, but they are definitely going to partner with third-party manufacturers to help support Xbox being available on those devices. And I think that's kind of where their key is. Obviously, they're going with mobile. They want to go with handheld if possible. I think if Nintendo was open to like a deal, I think they are open to a deal. I think it's just a matter of like what that deal's terms are. Obviously, they're going to be offering support with Call of Duty if the deal goes through for the ABK thing. But it would still be freaking-tastic if you had an Xbox Game Pass app on that Switch and you could stream your content to your Switch. Because, dude, I was watching Twitch on the Switch the other night, and I was watching a Sea of Thieves streamer, and I was like, imagining what it would be like to be able to do that. And with the ROG Ally, I think you'll be able to do that. I think this is definitely going to be an enthusiast market, kind of like the PSVR 2 is. But having native downloads on a handheld for Xbox games is kind of nuts in a world where we're seeing in a world where gaming is done via cloud. Having native downloads on a handheld is almost archaic and yet so sexy.
Yeah,
because you're not going to have that latency issue.
Right.
So I'm excited to see what happens with this because they're already talking about how it does come with Windows 11. A lot of people not happy with Windows 11 as far as like the OS on a handheld. But they are able to confirm that you can install the Steam OS, which is a lot more handheld friendly on there, which at that point, what you're basically doing is buying a Steam Deck that is effectively better than an actual Steam Deck. So you're getting like that top tier one, but you're going to have to put some work into these. I'm looking forward to a day when we have something that is on the level of something between a Steam Deck and a Switch, and can kind of do what we're looking to have it do. Like I don't need it to have like 120 hertz. I'd be happy with like a 1080 screen at 60 hertz and a 5-hour battery life that can play games on like medium settings and still have native downloads. So if we can get there, I think the market would be a lot more receptive. I think you might be a lot more receptive to having that. But I know that you do most of your gaming like when you get home and you've got your nice TV and stuff, and that's generally where you prefer to play it. So do you do any kind of like handheld at all when it comes to gaming outside of like your phone?
I play on my phone. Yeah, I have
Mostly just that.
two or three games I play on my phone, and that's about it. But that's not to say I wouldn't, but I mean, like, would I spend $700 to play the ROG Ally? No.
You're not even spending $400 on a second monitor. Like,
not right now. I just bought the computer. Jeez, so much pressure. Okay, so much pressure. But it's something I would do if I had it, but I don't have it. It's like VR. If I had it, yes, but I don't have it. So
that's fair. I don't blame you for that. But I think it'll be really great to see this. I love that they're working with Microsoft to be able to get like Game Pass on there and get Game Pass, like get you a few months at least worth of Game Pass. But it's going to see like this is going to be like one of those like, oh, it didn't sell well, they're cutting projections kind of thing. Like already anticipate that because this is already a pretty pricey thing to be able to jump into. But I think the people that jump into it are going to praise the heck out of it.
I think you're right. I think you are absolutely right. But I'm interested to see how it goes. And if it opens doors, I'm there for those doors to be opened. So take that for what you will. Smaller story as well this week. Gears 5 and several other big titles have just gotten to GeForce Now. That's exciting. I know GeForce Now cloud gaming comes up every time ABK seems to be brought up because the cloud gaming market is what led to the CMA blocking it in the UK. But it's pretty cool that Deathloop, Grounded, Pentiment, Gears are all hitting in the month of May. That's exciting. Gears 5 is great. I still want to play that with you. I even put it in our Discord that someone needs to help me motivate you to play Gears 5 because it's just that good. I thought that was really cool.
It's just a timing thing. Just say like, hey,
quit your job. I'm going to be on summer break. We'll have time together. Just tell them you're busy. Tell your work you're busy.
That works. Yep. Sorry, can't come into work. I am busy.
Luke, my co-host for the Xbox expansion pass, would like to play games, and that's how it is.
Your Patreon money can fund my job. We'll do this.
I'm trying to get a monitor. I also wanted to point people to anything that they missed from this past week. Creator Talk with Miles Dompierre, last case of Benedict Fox interview that is out now. It's pretty cool. I have not secured my next interviews. I need a break while school winds down, so I'm taking a small breather, but then I think you'll see some stuff start popping up. oddly enough, around showcase time, not intended to be actually, but pretty darn cool. And then kind of as I finished up Jedi and I finished up Redfall, and we had so many big games, Logan, I needed a palate cleanser ahead of some of the other stuff we're reviewing. And so I've been playing Ravenlok, which is an absolute joy of a game. The Muffin Mon recommended this. We got a review code. It's also on Game Pass. This is a beautiful, charming game that I would recommend to everybody if you need a palate cleanser. Very simple hack and slash, lighthearted fairy tale adventure. Very Alice in Wonderland. But like I was thinking of several members of our Discord who are parents or enjoy like lighthearted affairs. And it is a really fun game. And it's very short too. People were saying 3 and 4 hours. I'm in my 6th hour and having a blast, and I'm not done. It's enjoyable and simple and easy. And after doing some of these intricate games, it's a nice, relaxing game to play. I recommend this one for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, this is one of those ones that I think it looks great. I've gotten too much on my plate right now to like, I'm looking over at the dessert tray over there that says Ravenlok, and I'm like, yeah, it looks good, but I legit ordered everything that I thought I was going to eat, and I'm already full, and I haven't even gotten halfway through my plate. So Ravenlok is definitely one that I think if you're looking for something that is shorter, like you're in between stuff right now, like you're waiting for Diablo 4, or you're waiting for Street Fighter, or you're waiting for, something else coming out, and you're like, I don't have anything to jump into. Like Jedi was the last one. Then Ravenlok, good fun. Drop in, have some fun with that, especially because it's on Game Pass.
Yes, 100%. However, I would not have been upset if I had spent $20 on this one. Easy, not at all. That's a team I want to talk to as well.
How many double downs would you give it? Like 8, 9 out of 10?
You asked me this last week, and I don't feel like I answered it properly. I feel like I'm supposed to commit to saying that double downs is a rating system. But the problem is I don't like double downs. So is more double downs good in this terrible rating system that I now have to participate in?
Yes. Yeah. The more KFC double downs you eat, the better it is. So how many double downs?
I would die at 5. So 5 is my max double down.
Okay. So it's 5 out of 5.
Yeah. Redfall was 3. I'm going to amend that from last week, given this new, this is a 4. This is a 4 double downs.
4 double downs. Think of all that meat that you're just putting in your mouth right now.
So gross. All right. Let's do some listener questions and then get out of here, my friend. This first question, it comes from Matt Without Fear. He writes in over on Patreon and says, with so many live service games closing recently, with a number of high-profile single-player games all releasing this year and doing stellar numbers, Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survivor, Tears of the Kingdom, do you think that the market and publishers are shifting away from live service, or at least trying to find a better balance? Man. I think they're trying to find a better balance, because you look at Sony, they've invested a number of studios and finances into multiplayer live service arenas. That's literally why they bought Bungie, was to bring that knowledge base in. There was another studio they brought in with that same knowledge base. I don't think live service games are going the way of the dodo at all, but I do think, given the expensive buy-in for any title right now, the gamble is different per. So if you're going to do a single player narrative, you want to establish IP. If you're going to do a multiplayer centric game, you're going to have to go in big to make it work and work well. So I think that's you're seeing a rebalancing. I don't think they're gun shy to do single player stuff anymore the way they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
I think this is just the market ebb and flow. I think Survivor, Tears of the Kingdom, Hogwarts Legacy, these are all titles that have been in the works for years, and it takes a long time for these games to be made. So the fact that they're all coming out now is just a timing thing. I think it's just a matter of the fact that these just happened to all hit around the same time because of delays. Like Zelda got delayed, Jedi got delayed, Hogwarts got delayed, and they all just happened to fall within the same year. I don't necessarily think that the live service games closing is an indication that this is a shifting away from live service games, because there's still plenty out there that are doing just fine. Sea of Thieves, Destiny 2, Halo Infinite's we just talked about it getting into its stride, just getting into its kind of rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is just one of those moments where we just happen to have a lot of titles that were being built over the last 5-6 years finally coming into their own and finally getting released. And it just happened to be this just happened to be the year that because last year nothing really came out. So this is the year where everything got pushed to.
But that cat is angry in the background there.
She misses me. And that's motion sensor. She's the one that she's sitting outside the door. She's like, I love you. Open the door. It's also like 14 minutes from their feeding time. So that automatic feeder is going to go off and then they're going to run away.
Bring motion sensor in. I'll read Rithgod question. If you want to bring motion sensor in, it's up to you. Rithgod writes in over on Twitter. He says, Phil said our digital libraries are what bind us to an ecosystem. Couldn't Xbox, for example, offer the top 10 best rated or popular games for free to entice people? Games like Call of Duty, Red Dead, GTA, FIFA, Halo, Forza, Gears, etc. Rithgod, absolutely. I think that is a possibility, but there's a lot of complexities that come with that. In terms of Forza, Gears, Halo, you're already getting that with your Game Pass subscription, and that's established and comfortable. With the idea of Call of Duty, there's complexity given that there's a marketing deal in place with Sony, and Sony often builds things in to say, hey, don't do that exact thing that you're talking about. Red Dead, GTA are different beasts altogether. Red Dead, a dead interest level. They've Rockstar's kind of pulled a lot of what they were doing with Red Dead Online, Red Dead single player, much to the chagrin of Logan.
They done that dirty.
Yeah, they done did it dirty. GTA is preparing for its next beast. We've seen them do marketing stuff here and there. I don't think you're selling Xboxes by doing that. I don't think you're selling Game Pass by doing that because a lot of that's already available via Game Pass. We've seen GTA in there. The only thing that hasn't been in there from your list is COD. Because EA Play makes FIFA available. So your point is well taken. I just don't think that's the avenue, at least not in the ways that we've seen it. So take that.
I missed the question.
It was Phil's question about how we build digital libraries, or it was Rithgod's question. And so let's go to Todd Oxter's question. He says, what new first-party IP from the Series SX no prior gen IP will be their system seller? Is it even announced? So basically, what from the Series SX generation is a system seller? It's Starfield. Starfield is. That's what, whether it's good or bad, it's the system seller.
I think we're gonna get a preview of a Xbox Series X that is themed after Starfield on the showcase at the Starfield showcase. I would not be surprised if that was the thing. Hi, baby.
I love motion sensor jumping in on that one. If you're not watching the video version, getting all cute. Same thing. And Erica Lindbeck loved motion sensor.
Oh, really? Yeah, she did. She had a good time.
Let's see. Edward Varnell from the Nintendo Pal Block podcast. He has two questions because we missed one from last week, so I want to give him his due time. First question says, just like Nintendo when they sold Rare to Microsoft, do you think Microsoft would sell their Slipspace engine to Nintendo or even license it? Do you think they would watch what Nintendo does and learn? Metroid on Slipspace could happen. I don't think that. I don't think Microsoft is watching Nintendo and learning. They are very clearly doing a very different strategy to their benefit because their IP doesn't match Nintendo's in the ways that it would need to. But as far as selling Slipspace, there's a world where I think that happens. I doubt there's interest in Slipspace given Microsoft's inability to get the Halo Infinite kind of cruiser running there. But sure, if you can license that engine out, why not? Because it will build partnerships and it gets you some return on investment there.
Edward posed an interesting thing and it's interesting because he talks about when they sold Rare to Microsoft. I wonder what would happen if Microsoft sold Rare back to Nintendo, because that would bring in
no. Look, man. Hey, Tears of the Kingdom is incredible for those users, and I have not dove in, but like, there's Sea of Thieves tech needs power, and they no.
Sure, that game can
wrap
run
my
on a
head around.
potato. I can tell you right now, that game will run on a potato. You can put it in potato mode. I've seen it. It looks like an N64 game when the LOD doesn't work and the islands look like they're polygons. You could make it work. No, I think with the question here, if Microsoft would sell their Slip Space engine to Nintendo or even license it, do you think they would watch what Nintendo does and learn? I think if you had a team that was interested in using that engine, I would love to see like what they could do with it. Stop biting it, dork. She's biting my microphone arm now at this point because she just wants pets. And so I think it would be interesting to see more so what Game Freak would do with the Slip Space engine with their Pokemon game. Because I think that world is better built for open world streaming. And right now, one of the biggest issues with the Pokemon games is that a lot of their content is not streaming fast enough when you're moving around in the world. Like there's so much pop in, there's so much loading, there's so much like texture issues with that, that I think if you gave them access to the Slip Space engine, first off, there'd be like a huge amount of time of like learning how to use that that they would have to overcome, because a custom engine, something like that, is almost impossible to be able to drop in and start to work and do well with. Just ask the coalition like how they're dealing with Unreal Engine 5, and there's reasons why you saw teasers for little things that they were doing with that, plus like the Matrix demo. Like they're playing around with Unreal to get accustomed to 5, and they're already familiar with Unreal. So I think there would be an interesting thing that Nintendo could do with the Slip Space engine if they gave it to Game Freak, but there would be a lot of interest. But I think what the heart of Ed's question here is could we see a Metroid that plays as well as a Halo, given the shooter? Like having it, there is a world where Metroid is the next Halo, and we just haven't seen that yet.
I wish they would invest in Metroid the way I want them to.
I know.
And Star Fox.
I know. God, and Star Fox too. Like, dude, can you imagine with like if they had Slip Space and they used the Slip Space engine to make another Star Fox game? It'd be so great. It'd be so
All
cool.
right. Yeah. Last question this week from Edward again. It says, if you had to narrate a historic documentary on an Xbox product or game, what would you choose and what would you avoid? He would do one on Blue Dragon. That's a great choice. So if you had to narrate a historic documentary for an Xbox product, I would want to narrate. I'm torn between the S controller on the original Xbox or the first Kinect. And I think I want to go first Kinect because that was a hugely successful peripheral. Whether we liked it or not, like that thing sold in droves and built a legacy that damned the Xbox One. So I think I would want to narrate the first Kinect, and that would be what I would want to narrate. And what I would avoid, what would I avoid? Do you mean like a product I would avoid? Like
maybe
Gears Tactics. Nobody needs to hear that story yet. It's not ready. You know, maybe later on. I feel like I don't feel like I answered that second part of his question well, but yeah, I really want to hear the story of Kinect. I think that's the story to tell.
I think that's an interesting one, given the life that it's had post Xbox One, because it's amazing to see what people have done with that camera and that device in general. Like, dude, those Kinect cameras are used in like paranormal research so much. It's nuts how much I'm sitting there. I'm like, they're just using a Kinect to a laptop, but that's what people are using. The camera was amazing. The software and stuff that they used for that was great. It's kind of cheating, but I was actually already in a historic document for an Xbox game.
Unfair. That's cheating, but super cool. Tell everybody.
So, I mean, I was already in. So, like, if you guys don't know, Sea of Thieves recently had their 5th anniversary. There was a documentary that came out for the making of Sea of Thieves that I was actually in. So, technically, I've already done it, which is pretty awesome. But if I had to pick a historic documentary for an Xbox product, I would love to I'd love to. I mean, the Xbox, the S controller, beyond the Duke, is a fantastic pull, and the Kinect is right up there with it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I really loved the videos about the Xbox Series X teardown.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear the story of the S, because it not only did it have like it had a really comical Stein. Shout out to Stein on the Xbox account, the main one, the monkey GIF.
Yeah, that was
when
good.
when the leak came out about it just before the announcement. But I would love to hear the story in the process of them wanting to develop the Xbox Series X, but why they decided to go with the Xbox Series S, and how, where were they looking to develop the hardware for that, why they wanted to go with that. Was it in response to the Switch? Like, did they want to have a high end for the PlayStation fans? Did they want to have a low end for the Nintendo fans? Was that they're like, that's a story that I would love to be a part of, to help narrate. And if there was one that I wanted to avoid, it would probably be the Xbox One generation. Just because, like, that's just a story of people who were in the wrong places, who honestly just
smart people in the wrong places.
Yeah, smart people in the wrong places, good people like trying to do what they can with a product, but just not understanding what should have been the focus. Ahead of their time in some aspects, but I wouldn't want to have to rehash that. I think it's too soon.
I think it's well worth time for people to go watch the Xbox documentary they put out last year, because that sheds different light on Don Matrick in a way that some people still don't realize, because he had some really good concepts, ideas, but also he wasn't the driving force behind some of the things that he's attributed to, some of the things that I attributed to him as well. Worth your time to watch is all I will say.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, if you enjoy XEP and you're willing to drop a tip into the tip jar, feel free to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We appreciate so many of you guys. We're almost to 30, which is incredible. Thank you, guys. And of course, if you don't have the finances or want to finance, times are tough, whatever it is, like, share, subscribe, retweet, all that stuff makes a difference, as do reviews. We were greatly appreciative of that. You can find me on Twitter at InsipidGhost and XEP on all your podcast services as well as YouTube. Logan, where can they find you, and what should they be looking forward to on Keelhauled?
Keep an eye out on Keelhauled podcast. I'm going to be talking about Mystery 2, I think, this week, because again, shout out to George Orton over there, who is one of the devs, one of the engineers, and not engineers, but like an engineer in puzzle aspects. But going to be talking about Mystery 2 this week, as well as some of the controversies going on with the community and some of the patches that we got. So keep an ear out for that if you like Sea of Thieves. Otherwise, you can hit me up over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN, or in the Discord for the patrons if you want to chat with me over there as well too. And shout out to CJ Superpack over at the Player One podcast for hooking us up with some Humanity codes for PlayStation, because if you guys don't know, he released a game and it's called Humanity. And if you love lemmings, or you love puzzles, or you love Shibas, that's a great game. Go play that game.
I helped with testing for that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was allowed to talk about it, just to be clear.
Oh.
But I got to say that I helped out, which is kind of cool.
I too got to help out.
That's fun. You got to say, yeah, we were allowed to say that.
I think I'm allowed to say that.
Yep,
I helped.
And that's it. I helped. All right, guys, that's it for us. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.